Southern Victoria Village Council meeting, Monday, August 14th, 2023. Call the meeting to order. Record of attendance. The 3, disclosure of conflict of interest. If you have nothing right now, that's great, but if you have some, please declare. Approval of July 10th meetings.
Are we changing the order or are we going to the meeting minutes?
No, they just said declare your conflict when you come to the item.
Okay, thank you. Couldn't hear.
Yes, and I'm going to be adding
Item
an
S.
F on motions, please, for road closure.
Okay, I have this is Sheldon Shaw. I have a conflict of interest. I'll step out of the meeting.
Yeah,
We're not there.
We're not there yet. When we get to that one, it's under
I had
motions
to-
number F.
I had to add it, right?
Yes.
So it's under our motions number 10.
It's all right.
No problem. Okay, so we're gonna do the approval of July 10th meetings minutes.
Yeah.
Can I have a first?
We have moved and seconded.
Oh, we already did it all.
And I moved
Sorry.
it, Sarah seconded.
That's right.
I'm
So-
keeping notes on my agenda.
I have wrote
No.
all in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
Opposed? Carried. Delegations. Nothing, we're good here, okay. 6A, unfinished, first one, 6, unfinished business, A, healthcare meeting, Annie?
Yeah, we've got, I guess on the slide there, we've got the different meetings have been held. The original meeting we had with our committee on July 12th. We had great discussion. We talked about the needs in the community, need for the development of collaborative healthcare center. Of course, a big thing was recruitment of various positions with doctors and nurses and nurse practitioners and all the primary health staffing required. It was very great in that. Horizon, the CEO of Horizon, was very positive, and she mentioned that they're very interested in seeing a collaborative healthcare center established in Perth Andover. There was a discussion around that Horizon would be willing to support the staffing of it and also the lease or rent on a location for them. So it's very productive. And I guess the result of that, it was decided a smaller working group would be formed to maybe put some rubber to it. So August 10th, the meeting was held. There's 18 action items that were developed from that meeting that have been shared, I believe, with council. And then we've had discussions with the Victoria Manor on various healthcare projects and housing projects and things like that. So hopefully I sent an update out to our healthcare committee, I think last night, sort of telling them where we're at with this stuff and that there'll be a larger group meeting coming up in September once they get a few more of those action items completed. So very positive and things. And they also were very big on recruitment and the funding that's available now, whether it be $100,000 for a doctor or $5,000 for a nurse. There's all kinds of programs that they have available now. So if anyone knows anyone, there's certainly a lot of support from Horizon in recruiting, which is nice to see.
The October election?
Yeah, that's just confirmation, I guess, from our last meeting that it has been confirmed that the Ward 2 in Perth Andover will be part of the October 23rd by-election. There's multiple by-elections all around the province, and from what I hear, there's more communities will be participating in in that by-election.
6C, RSC, Japan, and the 9th.
Yeah, I guess that was just a question about where they're at with that.
Yes, so the last meeting we had, we went over the financials for the last quarter, and then they approved the group for the eclipse. And I think Justin is on it for us.
They have in the minutes from another time that they were having, at the last meeting, they were having the strategic plan presented.
Yes, but that's, I can't talk about at this time. I can't talk about that at this time.
Sorry. I thought they'd done one in their public meeting.
No, it was sitting, I was told that we're not allowed to discuss that.
So we should notify the province about that because I don't think they're allowed to keep those things secret once they're started to be discussed in a public meeting.
Yeah, it depend on the,
Yeah.
depends such like, it's and I think different RSCs have handled it different. A lot of RSCs, it's been more of a collaborative approach to how they've done it, where it's not the same, and it's maybe a bit on the same thing on the Ignite also. Like I'd asked there's a gentleman working for Ignite now that was going to organize a meeting with businesses here in the community, and we talked about a date in August, and they suggested, look, we'd like to have it in September, and I said, look, in the meantime, if you'd like me to organize a meeting with all the administrators in the valley, so you could introduce yourself, to say what what you're doing and things. And I didn't get oh, that sounds great, set it up, which was kind of disappointing. But I'll follow up again and make a point of actually inviting the gentleman to come. It's great if the RC is doing all this great, wonderful stuff. It'd be great if they could share it with the communities that they're serving.
Yeah, in our UMNV meeting, many RSCs have shared theirs, even sent it out before they approved it to give ideas.
To the communities,
Get the communities to look at it before it ever got approved, is what has happened in other areas.
Yeah.
And because it does directly affect our budget.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yep,
And I did have a meeting at the night also, which I was gonna say later. And I actually have met with, is it Adrian?
Could be.
Yes, very nice. It seemed to be very much to get out there and do things kind of person, so I'm hoping that all works well. Okay, 6D. Local Governments Commission.
Yeah, I've got a few slides in here. This is the regulation. I don't know if it's being released today or tomorrow. It's coming up, and this is that Local Governments Commission that's sort of going to be the governing body for municipalities. They're looking to appoint a commissioner for up to 10 years for the position. They're going to have 4 members appointed by local government that would serve terms 3 to 7 years. The matter responsible for oversight matters affecting local governments and rural districts and regional service commissions. So it's going to be like an overseeing board of all the RCs, municipalities, and even the rural LSD areas, where they talk about investigation, appointment of inspectors, audits, appointment of auditors, appointment of supervisor trustee. Like say, for example, there's one community now that's under supervisor trustee management now, that this board would sort of look after doing that. This time it was done directly by ELG, but this commission in the future would decide whether or not a community is under supervisory powers by the government. So they look at the cost sharing decisions by the RSC. So if communities have a dispute in how the finances being shared with the RSCs, they could apply to this commission. Reviews of bylaws, local governments restructuring plans, amendments to regions, and the skill and qualification. They're looking for a chair, somebody with local government experience. So they're looking for somebody to be, of course, a lawyer. They have different members that they would like. They'd like to have someone from the bar, a chartered accountant, different people on the board. There's been some concern expressed about the length of the term of being 10 years for the commissioner. Some of the municipalities have expressed some concern on the length of the term. And other than that, in this local government commission too, they will also now be responsible for the assessment and planning and appeal tribunal. So if anyone appeals their taxes, property taxes, that'll go towards this commission also now. The existing tribunal, I guess, will fall in under this new and improved larger government supervision that we have in New Brunswick. But and then the next step, they're going to post the regulation. Like I say, just as soon as I get that, I'll send that out to everyone. That's going to be posted for 28 days. Again, doing it in the summertime in August, which is, and I will give UMNB credit. They have lobbied the government hard on this, that look for municipalities that meet in the summertime to only allow 28 days to present it and discuss it and give feedback to them, that it's really not fair to municipalities. And they felt that recommendation should be 60 to 90 days. And that message was given to ELG, from my understanding, well over a month ago, and they still went ahead with this one being 28 days for feedback. So I know UMB was a bit disappointed that their recommendation wasn't acted on, so.
It's not just this, right? Other
It's
things
everything.
Like these, yeah.
All regulatory stuff, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not enough time.
No, so that's where they're at. So the all those positions that I mentioned are going to be applied for and interviewed and hired by January 1st.
Oh,
If they're not hired already.
I was just-
No, I'm
It
just kidding.
must be lost. Everybody's dying for that.
Yeah,
That'd be pretty soon,
yeah.
but it is long.
So that's it for that for the Local Governments Commission.
16. Preparing materials, recycling.
Yep, they had sent along our, I guess, council's intentions last time that we would like to opt into the program, depending that we can negotiate a favorable agreement between the two. But still waiting for the final document and meetings with Circular Materials on that. We have a meeting coming up regarding the promotion of the new program. From my understanding, in our zone, the only ones that have opted in so far is the Woodstock First Nation community and our community. But I don't know how many people wrote them and said that they're opting out. I think a lot of it maybe municipalities just, if they did want to opt in, they just let it go, because they said if you didn't get back to them by whatever the date was in July that you were opting in, then you were automatically considered out. So I don't know if the majority, I'm assuming the majority of places felt that they just weren't going to opt in and didn't follow up with them. So, but from what I gather, there's 10 or 12 or 14 communities around the province so far that have opted in, and whatever that number ends up being. One of the concerns we have is that when our contract, the service contract with the collector expires in January of next year for the LSD portion of the village. So our intention would be to take that contract over. So and provide that service to all of our residents. So one thing we're looking at in the negotiations is at whatever rate that they agreed to a contractor in the short term be applied when we take it over in January of next year would be the thing. So there's some things we still have to work out there. So once I get a better copy of that contract and revision, the RC was talking at one time about if there was communities in the area that were going to opt in, about getting a legal review of that document. I don't know if people remember looking at that document from Circular Materials, but it's like a legal contract that's 18 pages long or something. But I don't know if the RC is still providing that service, since it's just us and Woodstock First Nation that have opted in so far. So I'll follow up.
Is there a clause that we can opt out if we still closely at it?
Oh, we're not in. We haven't opted in yet.
Oh, okay,
No.
okay, but if we had,
We said we might.
okay, yeah, I knew it had to be the 28th of July when we
Yeah.
said something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's only if we're interested, but
Yeah.
the final thing later.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
That's
they,
what I thought.
they didn't have the amounts that how much they were paying for, all those types of stops and things, so until that was available. you
Yeah.
And like, for example, we need to finalize like the number of units that we have. And Jamie's worked on that last couple of weeks, like the actual number of apartments we have, the actual number of homes and everything like that too. Because it's based on a per stop fee. So whether we have 700 or 900 makes a big difference in the business case on our end.
When it goes to the apartments, does that count per unit or one stop?
From my understanding, in the contract, and again, I'll have to go through this, but my understanding is that for communities that were providing recycling to apartment buildings, that it would count for each unit would be a stop, so to speak.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, we're the only municipality in the valley that was providing recycling to
Yeah, we were.
two multi-unit apartment buildings. A lot of communities don't provide garbage collection or recycling to multi-unit dwellings. So as far as I know, and which is good for us as far as the Circular Materials contract. So,
Mhm.
but anyway, so we'll have to work out those details just to verify all that stuff and things, and it keeps, and the part of the point of us doing that too, it ensures local jobs and collection and back to our sustainability green green issues too.
So you say Woodstock First Nation, but not Celtic First Nation?
I'm not sure, yeah, that's the only one that I'd heard, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, F, housing application approval for BGM.
Yeah, it's just, I mentioned the rapid workforce housing pilot. Victoria Glen Manor has been approved to be part of that, where they're looking at possibly building 12 units for staffing, to help recruit staffing for the manor and things, so that's great. They're gonna have a visioning session with the Victoria Glen Manor in September, and hopefully if things go well, start construction next June, I think, is what they're looking at.
That'd be nice.
D, housing strategy draft.
Yeah, I guess included in your kit, there's the housing strategy. There's 11 key areas in that: assessment of current housing, review of land for development, review new services required, that if we want to open up more lots for the community, how does that impact services? Work with trailer park tenants to explore ownership options that council's talked about for the past 2 or 3 years, about possibly allowing them to, I guess, acquire their own land, and the rent to the park or whatever is an option for the tenants there to explore that. Zoning and land use policies, of course, have to be updated, and the incentives that we provide for housing development. Demographic specific housing, and that's sort of the concern that council raised about making sure that we had all types of housing based on affordability. So everything from low income housing, affordable housing, to more, I guess, modern accommodations. And then the funding assistance education, we'd like to do a thing where on the housing aspect that we're really promoting hard to people that, look, here's all these energy efficiency programs are being offered through Efficiency New Brunswick. Here's the incentives that the municipality has and options for people. And of course, of all of our things, we have a monitor improve our strategy. So this is just a draft strategy for council's consideration. And then we'd like to use this as sort of a basis to an application for the Housing Accelerator Fund that's on the agenda later on. And this housing strategy would be updated and improved from feedback we get from other agencies, and then also from council and the public in town, so.
That's coming later in the motion.
Correspondence, number 7, A.
Yep, this, the province would like feedback. I think it's in September for the provincial municipal highway plan. And that's basically any of the provincial roads through the Aroostook village, the former village of Aroostook, and the village of Perth Andover lots. And that's typically been like a cost sharing program. Right now, in the LSD portions of the community, the province is still responsible for the roads for there. So that's why this program doesn't apply right now to those to the outlying areas. That's not to say, however, that if council felt that we had concerns on the quality of roads, or a road or multiple roads in the Carlingford area or Tobic Narrows, that we could certainly send our concerns along to DTI. But for this particular program, typically we submit our top 3 to 5 options of areas we'd like improved. And there's traditionally a comparatively small amount of money in this pot. For example, in the last term, the last release of this, we didn't receive any funding under this program. So the opportunity, I guess, it's open back up again for 2025 and 26. And I think I'd sent an email to council that I was pleased when I was researching this, that in the DTI capital projects plan, which is separate from this program, is the retaining wall at the intersection of 105 and 109 in Perth is scheduled for work in 2025. So
we need to put that on as our top priority again.
Right.
So we should do what, 5?
Yeah, for council's reference, I'll send out part of the next meeting what our last ones were.
Yeah.
But again, if anyone has any,
It should be.
if you're out and around, take a look. And the provincial roads, just so you're aware too, are like inside the municipalities, basically the main drag through here and up to the old Trans-Canada area, and the roads in Perth, the one out to Jawbone, out so far. So it's basically the main provincial roads in town.
Okay, so like from the bridge to Tobic Narrows is under that.
Just from the bridge to just past Village Automotive. Is included in that for the purposes of this.
Okay.
It's just the old village limits.
And then from the bridge down to the hospital, down to, wherever the big thing goes there.
Yeah, down by the old gravel pit
The
or,
old one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So just any of the in-town stuff for Rustic and Perth. Yeah, so. Yeah. And the next correspondence was policing engagement. There's a document in your kit there that sort of outlines what they're looking for. And I don't know, Sheldon, if you had a chance to take a look at that.
I did, yeah, I'm not sure if I mean, I can try to make that meeting. But I did have a read of it, so.
Yeah. And I'll send the link out to that for anyone that's interested. The meeting's on August 22nd from 10 a.m. till noon. For people to log on, so they're sort of looking for feedback. And council also, if council's so interested, council could also submit a written submission also to these questions highlighted there, so. Anyone's interested in that?
That might be a good option for us as well, even if we do attend it.
Yeah,
Yeah. These have to be in, the questions have to be in before that.
yeah, I think we could still send council's comments on the long-term planning for it. And it's great to see the RCMP's responding to the needs of the communities and trying to get feedback from them on the level of service and the issues that communities may be facing. So that was, I thought was positive.
7A, reports. Sorry.
Yep. I guess include that. There's the stats report from the municipality. There's the water consumption. I talked to Philip today. I think the stats for the Rustic well, I think are a bit I think there's an issue with it. I don't think that the consumption is down 47% this year. No, it's everybody showering outside.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But wasn't it not reporting one of the things on it when we were doing that tour? And he discovered that it wasn't because it wasn't sending the letter and those for him.
Yeah, there's some computer issues
Yeah,
too.
computer issues with
Yeah.
that, yeah. Because, and one of the main reasons was because he forgot to go in and add 506 in front of the number.
For calling it, yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about that when you're looking at it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so the current projects that we're working on, there's a list on the next page there, all the things, the street patching, the housing, solar, all these different projects. And just since we're talking about the heuristic one, we're working on improvements to the UV system that the province requested for the well there, alternative option for that. And also had discussions today with the panel shop about the communications improvements there. And these were things that the former municipality had in their gas tax plan to get upgraded. So we'll hopefully get that stuff looked after the summer.
Is the sidewalks on there for the other side of Perth?
The sidewalk, I don't have it on this list right now, but that is one of the
That
projects.
is one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the trail improvements, is that us doing some of the trail improvements or is that somebody else?
A bit of both. That was an application we made last year for funding for trail improvements. And the province was, I think, cost sharing. I think Sheldon was like 50 or 60% they were picking up for those trail improvements. And basically, we had an issue, as council's aware, all the routes going up through the old thing. We had complaints from cyclists and things about how bumpy it was. So our staff went in and actually physically removed all the roots and structure and tore out the asphalt in those areas. And we've got it prepped now for paving. So we're going to go back in and repave those sections.
Are we gonna cut the brush back from the
Yes.
sides of the trail?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
And same thing, we got the same issues, brush on roads and trails.
Are we putting in speed bumps?
Well, actually, that's one thing I want to talk to council about was if, while we're doing that,
I think.
since we've got all these open areas, do we put a couple down that?
I put walking.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah, I think speed bumps would be a good idea.
And are the gates up?
No, they're open mostly,
Like-
all the time.
open all the time.
Okay.
Another thing I was,
Yeah.
walking on, and there's a piece of equipment that we should maybe be thinking about for the Willie that, goes on the boom arm and it's cutting the ditch.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was sitting there thinking that would be so much nicer for doing over here on the riverbank,
Yeah.
you know, going down and going on that trail and
Yeah.
do both sides and cut it back and
Like
it'd
a
be.
bush hog.
It's always like a
brush
bush
cutter,
hog.
Yeah,
With on the bottom of it, and I know that there is a piece of equipment that goes onto our own attachments for our machine, so I think we
Good.
should look into that.
Yeah, one thing that we were looking at for the roadside stuff, there's a company doing some work for the province now, approached us about maybe doing some work, so I'm hoping to meet with him tomorrow, or the next day, just to see about getting in some commercial equipment and helping our guys get caught up.
Which I think would be great for this year, but to me, I thought if they had that piece of equipment, it
Yeah.
would really help.
Yeah.
Easier to keep up.
Keep up with things, and
Yeah.
I'm all for.
You take, for example, when you go up Legion Street and you're coming up on Barrett there, you can't see around the corner, so if they're coming down fast, you cannot
No.
see there.
Yeah, we've got a mulching head that Phillips around now, cleaning out those intersections, so things, we've got a mulching
And by
head
the
on them.
school, when you're coming out, the shrubs, by McCarthy's, that's really out into the, you have to go quite a ways
Is
out
there
before
one
you
at
can see.
church too? I noticed one the other day and I was like.
Well, the one by the
You had to
school
go
gate,
way
you have to
out
go
to
way
see
out.
it. I was like-
If you're coming from the pool, you have to go
Okay,
way out.
Yeah.
maybe it was there, I just
Yeah.
remember it was along that stretch somewhere.
Yeah, so we're taking the mulching head and clearing some of that stuff back, just to make it,
But you could check into
because-
that piece of equipment for us.
Yeah.
Could I ask a question about the river side of the road? I know that I see a lot of our municipal employees going out and mowing there. That's technically not our property, it's MB Power, correct?
the be a combination DTI and MB Power.
Okay, and so we were just doing that for beautification, or is there an agreement that
No,
we?
That's just for us to keep the community looking a little spiffier, because the DTI won't maintain that inside municipalities.
All
We
right,
get the powerful money for our share of doing that.
Yeah.
We go for it.
and what about
Break
the
letter.
future, looking at clearing some of the trees, right? I know that as far as wall retention, you're gonna need to have things, but some of the bushes taken out.
Yeah, we're allowed to take out, I think, 30%, but we have to get the environment to
Yeah,
sign
yeah,
off on it.
yeah.
Permit, right?
Yeah. And we do have a water course alteration permit, but we did, when council had us 3 years ago, we went in and cleaned some out. And Department of Environment driving by quickly pointed out that we were maybe cutting a little more than we should be,
45.
or 90 or.
It might slow stuff down so
Yeah.
that it wouldn't grow up to be bigger bushes. That we
Yeah, that one's more of a mower than a,
Oh,
And I don't know if this, whatever we, like with that mulcher, particular, but on the back street, out behind January Street and all that and through there. I don't know what land we own and what we don't, but it would maybe serve us well in the future to go in and get rid of some of that heavy brush.
yeah, like
And
to,
kind of leave it so we can see in there. you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
like an actual bush hog, if we had something to hook to for the municipality,
Mhm.
might not be a bad.
Absolutely,
yeah.
We have a bush hog and we use it like on the
Yeah.
lots and it's wonderful.
yeah,
Bush would be a good idea.
Yeah,
yeah.
Something to consider in the future.
Yeah.
Well, and it would help alleviate some of the hide and seek that's going on.
Yeah.
You know, through the summer and
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
so.
Okay, where were we? Sorry.
no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, the fire stats here, you can see the calls, year to date are 91 compared to 95, last year. Structure fires, are about the same, 23, compared to last year at 22. Motor vehicle accidents are down. Which is nice. Good false alarms, last year, 0, this year 11. So there's a lot of people now are installing these home systems that we're getting calls on. So some communities are adopting false alarm policies that basically you get 1 or 2 free, and after that you pay a fee for them.
That's kind of hard because like, so the BMR building, I was forced to put the system in, paid humongous money. I have to pay a monthly fee. I have to, the fire marshal said.
Yeah.
So when it goes off, obviously, because I know I was a couple probably last year, they have to go. So where would that be on the landlords?
But don't they have a delay, like with the one at the church? They call Cameron or someone first. And if there's a power out, and they'll ask, there a power outage, is there a reason, because the alarm is
Yes,
going off?
yes.
And then if there's not, then you just, then they don't put it through with the fire.
Right, and that does happen. Like
Yeah.
power, because they'll click it,
Yeah.
they will call, but I mean, I've seen them have to go for. I don't know, somebody with a burnt toast, or I think was one, somebody snuck up and bumped a dryer. You know, in the laundry room.
Yeah, I think in some communities, they've just had repeat offenders like for multiple times, so it's sort of the communities. Yeah,
So is this actual calls or is this automated, like what you're talking about?
well, it'd be calls from like, say, ADT or whoever,
They call.
Okay, yeah.
or Larson's or whatever companies.
Cause they call for at our office, and I mean, that goes off all the time, but it's usually somebody not knowing how to put code in.
Yeah, like for example, our alarm has like 5 or 6 people that call, there's a whole pack of numbers. Yeah.
Yeah,
And mine does have a little,
Yeah.
they call
Yeah.
first,
yeah,
but I know that they have gone.
Yeah.
For things.
well, you feel bad because you
Well, I
don't
do.
realize that if that's from that far, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay, where are we? Financial reports.
Yeah, so included in your kit there, there's the summaries of all the utilities and the municipality. The light commission, I guess the first one, in your kit, shows the year to date, compared to last year, it's pretty much normal, when you look at the comparable numbers. One thing that, does sort of stand out, if you look down at the bottom, if you look at the June totals for consumption, our year-to-date consumption is 16,470,000 kilowatts. And that's down from 17 million from last year. But you can see when you look back at 2021, 2020, this sort of shows that last year in 2022 with the cold weather was kind of a bumper year for energy sales.
Yeah.
Where this year we've sort of gotten back to more normalized levels. So that, and the next one shows the municipal one, and these are just the general headings for it, and these are all the actual costs broke down based on the board cost and things like that. So, and then the total off services to governments, sales services, other revenue from own sources, and I believe the expanded version of these are in the SharePoint site for council. So you can sort of see the different areas, but if you look at the year-to-date actual compared to last year's is up, of course, with all the additional costs of the amalgamation stuff that was impacted. General government stuff, as you can see, a lot of that's the same. Protective services is about exactly the same, I believe, or awful close. And recreation and culture, all the total. So the year-to-date net income is 99 compared to 89 last year, so it's pretty much the exact same. And if you look at the other ones, the last page, that's the networks for the water utility, or the water and sewer utilities. The first one is the Perth Andover network, and then the Aroostook network for those costs. And like I mentioned, we're going to have some significant cost update with the Aroostook stuff that will be paid for through the gas tax fund that was set aside by the council there. So that won't be a big impact on their numbers. As you can see, that like the total budget for the whole year is only $33,000 something. So so it'll all work out. And again, if these are for information, if council has any other questions afterwards, don't be shy to ask.
Did you get the call for emergency things with utilities sorted out? When I call, when
Oh, yes, yeah, we followed up on that, just to make sure, like Sheila's talking about our emergency after hours number. That's supposed to be set up that if people call for the light commission, a public works issue or a pothole issue or whatever, they've got a list of that. If it's light, you call Nicholson's. If it's public works, you call Philip and our crew. And if you can't get hold of either one of them, then they call Justine or I and things like that. So that's our after hours emergency number. And again, to reiterate too, that's good for people in the outlying areas too. That's just not for light utility or water utilities, for the whole community. So if there's somebody in Carlingford has an issue, or Tobic Narrows, if it's something the municipality should be made aware of, they can by all means call that. So
Because that day there was like artesian wells, and you notice that statement's all broken
Yeah.
up there. So the culvert must have been so full that it was pushing up underneath and.
apparently somehow a beaver dam got released across the highway, and we had a huge surge of water come down through and flooded the culverts and ended up on top of the road.
No, it was
Up
right
on the hill.
by Leroy Turner's and just right
Oh.
there. And it was coming, it was over the road when there were these big, like artesian wells going up from the underneath where it was coming up.
Is there a beaver pond somewhere out towards Carlingford that would
Started by Till Road, wasn't it?
somewhere's out there?
No, not anything above, well, that I know of, above the reservoir. So it would have to be something below there.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere's over this way, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, but I called because it was after hours, and they told us that they didn't, it was only for power outage.
Yeah.
So I did texted Justine, and she.
Was that, I thought we had infrastructure in there to take away the water that we committed that for.
There is, yeah, there's probably I'll say a 36-inch culvert,
Okay.
and there was so much water coming through that it wouldn't,
Because if you flooded a beaver dam, oh,
Yeah.
God, it's gonna come right in the rushing, because it was going later, but it was really poison the way that. I thought.
Maybe
Phil
something
said it
else.
was somewhere up by Till Road, but I'm not sure of that. Mhm.
it came from somewhere, so that's all we know.
Yeah.
Water comes from somewhere.
It's like university, but they're up to lines.
Yeah.
So then we come to reports. Okay. So we discussed the hospital meeting on July 12th. And then we had a meeting with the UNMB, which I wanted to let everybody know, there's a link, broker link for people who are on council, that they can get a discount on insurance. So I also went down July 13th to French Fry Day in Pennsville area. Then July 15th, I went to the fishing tournament. July 19th, I was at the RSC meeting, and then I went to the firemen's meeting, which they discussed about the fire truck. And also the questions they asked us seemed to be, everybody wanted to know is where our new municipal building is gonna go with the new fire hall. So I told them, like before, there was 5 or 6 locations that was sent out around and whatever, but we'll be trying to narrow that down in the near future.
We need to start.
Yes, yes. And then on July 21st, I went to Brighton, I had a night meeting Zoom with Adrian Witt for night. And then July 22nd, I went to Tough Month. July 26th, I was in the night for Fredericton for the board meeting. August 10th, we had a smaller group hospital meeting, which that Danny and I, Danny was there also, so we went over a few things there that will be coming forward. July 19th, also, okay, fire home, okay, August 1st, I went to Aroostook for the afternoon, which was a few things that we're gonna talk about later. August 7th, I went to Heartland for the New Brunswick Day, and that festival was beautiful, 132 vendors, and very nice, very nice. August 9th was a water and sewer meeting. I think I got them all. The Hullabaloo was this weekend, and I went two different days. Don't want to make sure I missed anything. I think that might be it for me. Sheldon?
Just met up a few times with Counselor McGuire for public safety patrols. So that's my report.
Well, we covered the solar power, I was on that commission meeting. Yeah. Something I do want to announce is Jean Armstrong from CBC Radio is going to be at the Aroostook Community Center tomorrow for tea time at 2.
Oh, nice.
So anybody wants to go meet with her, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get away from work, but I really gonna try. So yeah, she's gonna be there and she's not really broadcasting, but she chat to Lois quite a bit of like doing the updates.
Yeah.
And she's gonna be there for.
I wish I'd known before today, because I
Oh.
had appointments that I can't get out of.
Oh, she, yeah, so I text mom and dad, I'm like, oh, you gotta go. He listens to her faithfully.
Todd?
I don't have, I had met with Deputy Mayor Shaw. Well, he mentioned that. We're moving ahead on some information on the Carling Ford Hall. So I reached out to the individuals whom they thought had all the things will be in different directions. So once I get done playing cat and mouse and trying to figure out where I need to go, I stopped by the revenue office, but it happened to be closed when I was here, so I couldn't, I have to do a title search and figure out who owns it first.
Yeah.
But I have it ready to go the minute that we get the permissions, that it will at least be beautified to a certain level. So we hate to see our historic buildings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We want to see,
Good point.
and it will bring some community pride, for any LSD or former LSD. But anyway, so that's where we're at. That's what we're working on, and I think it's a good thing. I was concerned with the bushing and the cutting, and just like everybody else was this summer, all the town, but I think that they've got kind of a handle on it now, and it's coming along fairly well. So some of the concerns that were brought to us or to me, anyway, for us, is when the mowing is done, and there happen to be huge windrows, that they could be cleaned up somehow. So I know you could break it, but that's gonna take man hours and power. Or you could have a piece of equipment that pick that up, or you could just mow it before we have windrows and, really honestly. So I understand with all the rain and all, I got it, like that. But I just think that we could do better on beautification and making our town more than even what it is now. So that could be something that we can look at in the future. And stopping some of this hide and seek and mouse games between what's taking place. And the camera issue was brought up too, about having better systems so that we could identify possible theft or things. So if there was a way that we as a town can do our best to keep pushing back that infiltration that's been happening into our communities. And we're doing the best we can. Deputy Mayor Sheldon Shaw is doing a great job of everything he's doing behind the scenes. And however, on that part as well, and even different ones that have said that they would volunteer to do like a patrol or whatever. I get nervous over that, because you're then putting your life and your family, your possessions, at jeopardy. So
You're
anyway,
drawing attention to
you're
yourself.
drawing attention to yourself, yeah. So I don't know if there's, village vehicles that could be, utilized for patrols. So therefore, you're not using your personal vehicle or your personal equipment or whatever it might be. So I really appreciate that, because I think through this, it has created at least a buzz where people are saying we're watching it, we're not just a sleeping giant anymore. So, but by pushing back that, I think we can continue to do whatever we have to do to help fund or help whatever in any way, manpower or whatever, to help continue to push this back. And it's an epidemic everywhere,
Yeah.
but we're doing everything we can defensively and then offensively to push that back. We need to do that. So I'm quite pleased to this point.
Sandy?
I will say that, between Dion, helped me facilitate my first, because I'm the director, there's two of us, I guess we're down to one now. Facilitate a zone meeting for zone 6. Dan did the hard stuff, getting me going. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But between Dan Murphy and Dan Dion, they probably made me look okay. And, a lot of good information in these zone meetings. I recommend people, anybody that can zoom in on them. There's such valuable information coming through UNMB. They are in the trenches with the government on a daily basis. And what we gain from that information is very, very good. But there's lots of info that comes in emails and updates if everybody gets those. So it's just really a cool thing to be part of, and we're not all municipalities, it's not a given that everybody belongs, but they're getting more uptake. I think there's more coming in, and some cities are wanting to belong to the organization because there's a separate cities one too. So
But some cities already are, and when others are joining. that.
yeah, they're already in their own, but they want in with what we've got, because Dan Murphy is quite an amazing
He really is.
director,
He is,
or he comes from a long line of, his father was the director when my mom was mayor. And he's just, I remember Mary Ann said to him, I'm not sure if you just got this job because of who your dad was, because of continuation. And she said, but you know what, you've proven yourself.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that was that. I did take some time off work to get to the hospital meeting, which I was completely just blown away by the Horizons openness to want to work with all the parties. That's a breath of fresh air as far as I'm concerned. So I was really excited that I got to, I could get away from work to attend that. I attended the Water and Sewer Committee meetings, which was really interesting. We've got a couple of community members that bring with them quite a bit of good insight, historical insight, that I think are very important that we consider, because we as councillors don't know what happened in the past years, things that we've, I wouldn't have had a clue. So that's good to have those people on board. Wes McLean he's helping us with this new policy. We're going to, kind of bring it up to speed. So that was another thing. Apparently I missed a fire department meeting that I was told was on a Wednesday, and I guess it happened on Thursday. So I was sorry to hear that, but anyway, I'll make the next one. I did get to attend the parts of the Heartland Festival, and I was blown away. That's a great festival, and I really think that in this valley, we have the amazing things going on.
Yes.
And I think as communities, we need to promote each other's, because we have the hullabaloo, and not every community needs a hullabaloo.
Right.
And there's other things, exactly. So I think I'd like to see our Facebook kind of pick up some of the valley, and maybe the RSC should really be taking the lead on that. And I'm not sure what their mandate is, because I guess it's top secret information, but that's something they should be doing.
Well, they have a regional tourism person.
Yeah,
Regional
and I
tourism
met
person,
her,
so they should
and
be doing
I
that.
have been to the eclipse, some of the eclipse things, and I just think that, that could work really well to promote in the region a lot of this awesome stuff that's going on. That's it for me.
I too thought that the hospital meeting was excellent. It was really a valuable time. And UNB, I'm on the municipal reform committee, and that the updates that we get, he usually has 1 week he's meeting with the municipal reform people, and the next Wednesday we have a meeting, so that it's really, he can keep us up to date on it. Dan does that. There were a few, I took part in the Tough Muck. I worked all day, and I started at 9, and worked at the finish line to make sure we had everybody through the Tough Muck at the end of it. It was an excellent one, largest attendance and a lot of people from outside. And they were really impressed with it. It's a very popular event and well run. And I know it took a lot of work for our staff to get it ready and things like that, but they did an awesome job, wasn't it? And this coming week, this weekend, it's the provincial swim meet. And I'm working with that swim meet, and it's always worthwhile to even have a few minutes to drop in and watch, but I'll be working on the results, so I won't see, I'll just be head down trying to get that done. I've had a few concerns brought up to me. One of them is like on the unsightly premises, public safety, and there's one on Old Line Road, and I'll talk to you about it later in your area. I think they've reported before. Well, apparently they did put a big dumpster in to try to get some of that stuff gone, but there's a large number of raccoons there. And so what's happening is that with the rabies with the raccoons and everything,
Yeah.
and young children playing just a few houses away, it's dangerous.
Is
So-
somebody still in that, is somebody
Yes.
living in the property?
Yes, there is. And yeah, there is. So that's, I think you got a report on that one other time, but anyway, that's a concern. And it was brought to me by 3 different people who lived on that road who were close proximity to it. So it's something that we have to look into again. I've had several complaints about they're using a 3rd unit on the Till Road that there's supposed to be 2. And so I got several reports on that, and I know that Dan had sent off a reminder that it's not supposed to be used. So that was a thing. The rural rides, I've had a few phone calls to go to the food bank and that with people who had arranged with that. And some of the drivers, if it's a nice day, not raining, they don't, and they just find out that morning that they're not gonna take them. So these people call me by default, so it's just something to look at because it is a problem to get to a food bank and you're a senior and driving it, going a distance, it's a problem. So that, and then the concern that I had, we had many seniors with the independent closed who don't use the food bank, but they do need to get to a grocery store. And I found out accidentally that there was a lady last week who didn't have any groceries. So I took her to Grand Falls and things like that so she could get it, but we, somehow we've got to come up with a plan that,
We should have
yeah,
done.
Someone, see, there was an advertisement, I don't know where I saw it, there was a young woman that was doing exactly that.
Yeah.
I don't know,
I know, I've taken people up there because they need to have it. And for hopefully another week, it'll be over with, but.
Yes.
But that's one of the ones. The other one, the complaint I got is, some people on their streets are mowing their grass out onto the road. And I've had a couple complaints about
Mhm.
bicycles and the motorbikes sliding and falling on that. So when you're mowing your grass, when you're
Yeah.
coming next to the street.
Yeah.
So they've had people complaining about that, and it is a dangerous practice.
It is, it's a dangerous practice, so tell me, what is the difference between slippery grass or slippery house horseweed? Like.
Well, the only thing
Yeah.
is, no,
I agree, I don't think
the only
anybody
thing is
has
that
ever
with a
voted.
large, the full length is 100 front footage, and if that's all covered with
Yeah,
grass,
no, I agree
then there's no
100%.
way that they can get through it without
Yeah.
having
With all that
any
rain
danger.
though, like I was going across the bridge and I was like, oh, good thing there's a sidewalk for people to use. It was unbelievable,
What was that?
but I mean, yes, that is. a
Yeah,
safety
that was,
issue for
that's one
sure.
of the things that mowing on the street and then I also reminded people when I take them for rides that
Like,
Saturday, they could walk to the market and get a lot of their produce right at the market, because they thought that it was a great market. And even, I'm really pleased that Dave's Greenhouse and the Salty Peanut and the Altamar had added more things to their store so that it
Yeah.
would help alleviate some of the problems for people, so.
I know there's no bylaw in effect on that, if it's a ring on the street, but would that be something that could fall under that, saying when it comes to the mowing of the grass, the
Yeah.
manure and the horses?
I don't understand how come that doesn't fall under, like, if I take my dog for a walk, I have to
Right.
clean it up.
Yeah.
And I have been in places that they have carriage on with horses. and they have these bags that are underneath them.
Right.
Yes.
To collect it.
Right.
Right, they still yummy, but it's collected. So I just don't understand why we can't put something like that in for our community. Because I wouldn't be surprised if everybody that moves here from away probably has one hanging in their barn.
You know, we travel different places and we've been into Shipshewana, Indiana, where there's huge, and down in Pennsylvania, it's not an issue. They clean up,
Mm,
you know, behind their,
Right,
if we dump gas on the road, we have to stop. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just, and I have no issue
no, me
with
neither,
our
but.
new neighbors. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And their lifestyle is incredible and whatever, but I think there should be some accountability as well when it comes to
It's not
that.
too bad in our area, I get where there's sidewalks and they're not on the sidewalks, but
Yeah.
when you're going like. You know,
Mhm.
towards Tobic Narrows and stuff, like the roads are so narrow, and I mean. I mean, you're right, because I know, but it just.
Well, we've already had several different incidents out in Carlingford. One, there was an individual rear-ended. And then there were others that had near misses, you know, so,
I don't know,
um,
like the clippings, it's dangerous, and
Yeah.
in my opinion.
It's about like this guy that we're hiring to do some certain things, you gotta have somebody that's gonna police it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's basically the cost of, because we did discuss it at the last council.
yeah,
And it was basically the cost of how are you going to police it?
Yeah.
right,
And if you find it on the ground, how are you gonna know?
Who's, which,
right,
which
right.
course did it?
Yeah, I mean, so we were.
I think that's part of our bylaws that we are reworking and things like that, and we have to have one that includes the grass cutting or the snow
Yeah.
blowing out into
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
And the other, we can put it all in one document, but it should be part of it.
Yeah.
So
A lot of bylaw type stuff too, is based on, enabling legislation the province has. And that was one of the issues that municipalities, had with the horse, like say to legislate the bags. There's no enabling legislation, or there wasn't a few years ago, to allow, like, if, like, all of our bylaws refer to a section of an act that allows us to develop this, like you'll see in our and dangerous and unsightly premise bylaw, that refers to a section of the act. But I'll follow up again on that, 'cause last time we looked into that, it was a few years ago. I'll follow back up to see where that, if that's changed any.
I mean, I could care less if they just carry a shovel through the ditch. You
Yeah.
know, like, just get it off of.
Right, because I've actually had complaints from ladies
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah,
they go through it and they
Yes.
drive into their
Yes,
garage.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so.
right,
And the
So as
smell
long as
is
we have
there.
that, if we can find out from the provinces, and if not, we can start, you know, saying to the province, okay, you've got to have, this has changed now, you're gonna have to have this.
Well, that could be a resolution that
Resolution from.
at the UMMB
UMB.
annual meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this fall, we,
That's right.
and their deadline,
So
so
we
it comes
could-
up pretty quick.
So if we could
September.
find out if they have it.
Yeah.
And if they don't, we could make a resolution where we would ask them, because we can't put in our bylaws without a law that we refer to.
I mean, it wouldn't, I know it's different countries, but it wouldn't even, be a bad idea to contact, for example, Fort Fairfield or somewhere, Presque Isle, where they have a good number of rolling through, and how they take care of that.
It's on the side of the road, and I last few times.
It is. Well, see, I don't know how-
On the side of the road, so that's going.
Yeah, I checked it when I was over in the Spider there a few weeks ago. I noticed one was going by and didn't have a bag on
No,
the.
they don't. The ones I've met the last few times over across it, and I've seen files along the road, even up Dorsey Road where my aunt lives, you can see files out there.
And of course, the enforcement issue around that too is that if you want to fine people, then if you're going to fine somebody, you need to have
Yes.
actual, okay, that, say if there's 6 different buggies going out there, 6 different horses, and you actually have to see the person
And you know,
committing the offense, so to speak.
in that particular community, you don't have to go to each individual,
No,
you have to go to one.
One
commission
out.
And just say, listen, this is what needs to be done. Is there something? So they now have, reflectors on their buggies because the police have stopped in different times and said, it's just not safe after dark without having any kind of lighting or illumination. So
Should have
they
bigger
put the
reflectors.
reflectors. I mean, when you go to the, like I said, Pennsylvania or Indiana, they have LED blinkers, brake lights, like it's set up.
Yeah. Is there an age to drive one of those?
No. I don't know.
Tractor, it would be the only piece of farm equipment, and I think it's 15 for a tractor.
14.
14, okay, so, I mean, you could get a 14-year-old driving up and down the road with a quad wheel, big John Deere tractor, and it's legal. So I don't know how it works on that end.
Like, I know when I was again over in Maine, I saw one driver who did not appear to be close to 14.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought one that would be closer to 10 than maybe.
yes,
16 for side by side from Wheelers,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I guess that's something I could look into too, just like,
Were they unaccompanied?
what's that?
Were they unaccompanied by like an adult or?
They were accompanied by a couple other kids.
Anyway, those should be part of it, but if you could check out the
Yeah,
law
maybe.
on that, so we could put it in our bylaws, would be a good idea.
That's something to think about.
A lot of it, like Todd, it's the point too, a lot of enforcement type stuff is just talking to the people, the
Yeah,
offender, and 80% of the time people want to do the right thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
There's 20% that they don't on occasion.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
He's in, they have an elder,
They have an elder, the
Elder,
bishop lives
the
in
bishop's
Maine.
in Easton.
okay.
So that's their community, so you have to, and I don't know how that would work, you would have to go out and speak with. I can follow up with that.
You have to talk to the elder.
The hierarchy of how that works.
You have to talk to the elder and have the elder talk to the bishop.
That's,
probably.
yeah, because when it came to the policing aspect in the RCMP had to go, I knew one of the members that had made mention. And the owner or the individual with the buggy said, we would, but we have to, bishop has to be the one to give us that permissions. Cause then they're changing their buggy, it's, so anyway. So that would be probably where we'd have to start at elder. And then just bring it to the attention of the elder, and the elder would have to take it to the bishop, and then they would have to have their meeting and then bring it back to us again. So it could be something that could be started,
Yeah.
as quick as tomorrow. Just make that quick visit and talk about it.
Yeah, because the collaboration thing is a lot better than
Yeah.
showing up with the enforcement stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're very reasonable. It's not a,
And a lot of people do business there and
yes.
Yeah, they do.
things too.
Bylaw.
Okay. That's over our. Yeah, so these are all the different motions tonight that we've got, the one we added for F, the road closure one, which I don't have a thing in the kit for that. So the first one is the solar project that council's looked at. We had our RFPs that were submitted to the municipality that we're still working through the final process. Again, the background for that was council reducing greenhouse gas emissions as part of our strategic plan for the community and our whole Connect to a Greener Life mandate for the town. Green energy supplies component of our building, municipal building project that I mentioned. Numerous communities, and especially the ones with utilities, have gone the solar route, as I mentioned. I was at a meeting recently with all the electric utilities in the Maritime and municipal ones, St. John, Evanston, 4 communities from Nova Scotia and PEI, and everybody's doing solar projects, and wind too, but everybody's doing a solar one right now, and they're using government support to do them. And of course, the investment generation, having your own generation hedges against the risk of future rate increases. In ours, for example, from Algonquin or MB Power rates going up, that once you incur the actual installation costs up front, then there's no additional increase in costs. And the one thing about the solar panels, in theory, should be a lot lower maintenance than other forms of generation. So I guess what we talk about is to possibly motion to direct staff to develop a final arrangement based on the request for proposals received that would come back to council for final.
I would move that we direct the staff to develop that final agreement based on the RFPs that we've received.
Seconder? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, and the next one's we have to do two motions here, and that's to do the dangerous and unsightly premise bylaw, the updating of that. So we need to have a motion for the reading of entirety, and then the second motion for the third and final reading.
I'll move the reading of entire. We need the other motion separate.
Do one at a time, yeah.
Are we gonna do the vote and all that
Yeah.
first?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay.
And the third and final reading motion.
Any- Seconder? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
And the next one's for a motion to apply for funding under the Housing Accelerator Fund.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hello? Carried.
Okay, the next one's the woodlot harvesting agreement. This was posted on the CoLab site. The wood producers received, I guess, tenders for their RFP. So this is to make a motion that the municipality enter an agreement with the Crown Victoria Wood Producers Association and HE Forestry Limited. And as per the plan for cutting, and the rates are included.
Yeah, I was asked a couple questions about that one.
Yep.
Don't, we have it, the rate on, is it in here?
It was on the,
It was on our, I
On our-
think on there,
yeah.
yes, pull that, no, I
So-
have it.
so-
I was just looking at the rates. So like, when we're talking, this is per cord, right?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Like, firewood, stumpage wood is $30 a cord? Isn't that normal? Isn't that like that in the Emily Hartley days?
And they,
Being honest.
yeah, as part of this, they have to do the road work, and they have to leave it in, and we're asking for a select cut here too. It's not a clear cut. Which is,
Oh, that's the cost of doing it in what we're getting.
well, the wood producers, it was
What they do.
it was the most competitive rate they had offered to us. Yeah.
You would get more if it was gonna be a clear cut, because then they don't have to select.
this is a more difficult one.
And we want them to come in too and take out the blowdowns, like the select cut part of it.
Is there a
It's-
buffer to the road, like Route 190, would there be a buffer, say 20 feet from the road, or are they gonna just clear it?
Yeah, no, it's, what we've done in the past, we've left like a little buffer, but beyond that, we don't take out. Like, I don't know before, I think we were looking at like I wanna say, Todd, the 50% harvest rate.
Yeah.
40 to 50, so, and then what we tried to do in the past, we would take out, if the stand had so many big trees and so many little trees, that we tried to leave so many big trees and so many little trees, so it sort of had the stand had the same characteristics as opposed to just taking all the big stuff.
So would it be basically just like it was done, say 25, probably plus years ago now? It was, you could see that's on, say from our.
Yeah.
So, but that was good, because it would grow.
Yeah, we did some of that with a horse, I believe.
Yeah.
At the
I
time,
remember that.
I think we did with a horse, yeah.
This one, because of the way they fall, some of it is not, like they said, the horse Well, the horse would be taking it out, but the cutting sometime would not be.
Well, this one will be done with the processor.
Yeah. Process.
Is there a timeline of beginning or as soon as?
Yeah, this fall, and part of the ticket to get those blowdowns out. And again, one of the issues we have with these, where these are recreational trails too.
Yes.
That they have to leave the road in good shape, and that when snowfall hits, they're done. Because we don't want the roads, we need to have it groomed for the,
Take longer to process it.
so. Yeah.
So the pricing is that?
That was talking tonight.
Oh, I know.
Quarter wood now is like $350, and I just see that number, and that's like very little, and I mean, I had somebody come to me and want to take South Beach for me in Bellevue area there. And it's like, they are only more than that. I mean, but like you say, they gotta clean everything up.
And they might
They
not
may
be
be able
building
to
a
make the
road,
road.
they might be able to get
Put a
to
bridge in.
it.
Culverts,
Yeah.
so.
But they may have to put a bridge in one spot.
Yeah.
Or at least on the, I don't know if they're gonna use the rec trail or if they're gonna build their own.
Wherever possible, we're gonna try to use the existing trails, because we don't want additional roads built.
Yeah.
Everywhere out there, and when they're all said and done, the roads to be graded and bulldozed and.
And you know, then after that's done, it's a good thing because there's gonna be opportunity for future growth of the trails.
Yeah.
The system, more beautification perhaps maybe in that area with that and for that, so. Yeah, it's needed because it's just like toothpicks in through there all over the place. It's unreal.
Yeah.
I think that's the big, thing is how much it's gonna cost them to get those things out and then to sell them. So they
Yeah,
have to-
unfortunately, I think there's some patches in there that we won't be able to maintain the integrity of the woodlot. Where there's so many
Yes.
blowdowns and stuff, we may end up with some small patches here and there where everything's.
I don't know what it is like now, the wood producers would know, I should have maybe asked, but right across from Stephen and Diana's, there is an old lot. Somebody owned it years ago, because there's an old well in there too. But it's full of apple trees, so I'm hoping that they will. Used to be you couldn't cut apple trees, when I worked for producers then. Just probably have a skidder and keep blowing, there was no, you
There
just
used to be a
turn,
lot of
close your eyes.
yellow transparent apples.
That's a beautiful
Yeah.
apple orchard in there, but I don't.
Depends on whether they do
I'll talk
that.
to Harold.
Yeah.
Okay. Any mover?
I'll move.
Any discussion? Michelle in there?
I am here, yes.
All right. Okay, so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
That's utilities.
Yep, and on that, included in your kit there, I did include it, and I just, based on, there's a couple minor typos that I changed. And I just put that the 3 logos be inserted on the front, for the different utilities. And one thing came around question, areas of influence, I just put may include, added the word may, so it's, it's not that they have to have involvement with everything, it's that they may.
Mhm.
And the other thing, on the next page, the voting member, we didn't talk about this at the meeting the other night. To be a voting member, a person must be a resident or own property within the municipality. And then I added, and a utility customer. That was one of the things in the past that we had, that you had to be a customer. Now, I want to make clear to council too, that some places put that in, that they have to be a customer. Because they've got skin in the game then. But some places leave that out if they want to bring in somebody that's even a non-resident to be on a utility commission. Like say if we had somebody that lived outside or lived somewhere that had a lot of experience, or like say a Murray Jamer who's did engineering for public works in City of Franklin, that if he didn't live here but he's from here and want to be on the board, that would be an option. So there's different parameters for that. So for this one, I didn't know what direction we want to go with, so I just added the thing about them being being a utility customer. I don't know if that's,
Myself being on that, I can't vote.
You're an appointed from council, so, but.
But you have water.
Oh,
You have water,
okay.
you're a water customer.
I was thinking.
No,
Yeah, that's,
Sorry, perfect.
Yes.
no. And in part of that too, the province at one point talked about, and I don't believe they did this, they talked about only council, like for voting for things here, that only counselors or wards serviced by that service could vote. But I never did see where they followed up on that. Like say, for example, if people from outside that didn't have water were voting on stuff, but I don't believe they followed through on that intent.
Okay.
No.
so, but somebody from a Aroostook that isn't a water customer might not be eligible to be on the board.
Okay,
That's
that's
what
right.
I'm just asking.
Right.
Yeah,
Like that
that's right.
would deter
Yeah.
some people
Yeah,
if they were from Kilbegnan or Worcester.
Yeah.
All right,
So I just have a procedural question. So should this conversation always be done after the motion? Because it is a conversation about it. So I think it's a really prescient point.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, good point, Sheldon, yeah, because the motion could be made and then,
we can open the discussion.
okay,
Just because I think that last point should be talked about a bit more about how, certain areas may be dissuaded from participating in these conversations or be a member of it, but. That's
yeah, let's there, second day. Okay, now, any discussion?
I think we already did it.
Okay.
Yeah, but we have to,
So do we decide whether or not we want that in there, where it's
Yes.
highlighted, so
Yeah.
we can decide?
right on, yeah, that's the point, yeah. And again, when I was going through the final thing for Prefer Council, I sort of picked up on that.
Well, it's
It's
just,
glad that you highlighted it. I do appreciate putting that in, but after thinking about it, maybe we need to remove it just so we can get the most participation possible going forward.
right,
Now, the other thing on that, Sheldon, too, what about the residency clause?
I'm actually okay. Well, I mean, I can see great benefit to having somebody from outside of our community coming in specifically for the Light Commission. I think there may be a lot of expertise potentially in Woodstock or outside of our community. But I do think you should be a resident to be able to participate on the board. I just don't think that, we should keep people that, we haven't extended our utility out to at this point. I don't think we should, penalize them for that. So I still think a resident is important.
Now, in the past, it was a property owner for the light utility.
Right.
Or sorry, a light utility customer, sorry,
so, property. owner.
right on,
right,
and not a resident.
Yeah, sorry, I said it wrong. Yeah, definitely property owner.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like for example, in the past, Al McPhail could be on the Light Commission because he was a customer in part and he owned property.
if we say a property owner, then that would mean anyone who's rented would not be eligible.
No, they'd be a resident.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I wanna limit it. to people.
Most of them would be customers too.
Yeah, like in this, it says a resident or property owner within the municipality.
Yeah,
Okay,
and most of them would be customers.
yeah. I think if we wanted outside expertise, we could ask for it, we might have to pay a little bit for it, but I think we could ask for that.
So if you want, I can just leave that the yellow highlighted area off.
Yeah, that's what I'm proposing.
Yeah, and then on the last page, I just had something there, I just added it, just for clarity, that when required, additional staff may be invited to attend meetings, staff will attend only for the time necessary to present whatever the topic is, and I think that's a holdover back from when we had a superintendent, that they would come and attend just a portion of the meeting and then go.
Yeah.
We don't need it there.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay, Act.
So Sheldon, you're in a step.
Yeah, I'm gonna step out.
out.
If you wanna text me when to come back in, I'll rejoin.
That's good. Yeah, so for that, Deputy Mayor's declared a conflict on this item on the agenda, just for clarity.
Clarity, yeah.
So the motion is that we would allow, 2-hour closure of the street from the Anglican Church to the school road for 2 hours on that date. Yeah, August, what is it, 26?
I remember back in the heyday when, in front of the merchants and buns and in these buildings now, like, we would shut that off going freight.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
You know, from 11 to 2 or whatever.
yeah,
one of
yeah,
those
short
to
period,
have
yeah.
the barbecue.
Yeah, so that would be the motion, is that we allow a closure of it, or we've had a request,
Mhm.
so I don't mind moving that, we had a request. To have a closure for 2 hours on that time frame, and we directed staff to, send a copy of the route around it to be closed, yeah.
Yeah.
So detour, yeah.
So we'll,
So, I'm sorry, select motion, then just so I'm clear, Lizzie, that we approve the request for a low closure as per the circulated detour
Circulated.
plan,
Yes, the plan.
dependent on DTI
Depending on-
approval.
Yeah, depending on DTI approval.
And
Yes.
I'm assuming council wants to tag on there and staff are directed to develop a draft of a road closure policy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
so will it be DTI's responsibility to close that road that day or?
No. Would be village.
Go.
Is that something that we'll know, like?
Yeah, I'll reach out to Pierre again and find it, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Yep. And maybe we should just like. Back to it, like, I don't know, if they don't get back to you.
I'll follow up with.
He'll call him, that'd be easier.
Okay, so Sheila is my mover.
I'll second.
Sarah, in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Don't do that.
Talking back in the days of the barbecues over it. On the lawns, nobody can see.
It's not the fire truck across the road.
That's right. I pulled out the barbecue. Chewing on it.
Okay, so 11, is Sheldon back?
Yep.
11A, new business flood.
Yeah, I guess with this, the flood modeling request, I was wondering if council would be interested, from an EMO perspective. I thought it'd be good for us to send a letter request to ELG requesting, they do LiDAR mapping of the river valley here and the river system where they can project water flows and levels. I think there would be a benefit for our community in particular to have ELG to see if they could model that rainfall that they had in Nova Scotia and how that
Yeah.
similarly would impact our river system and also the dam facilities. And the reason I say that, when I was looking at the news cast of down in Winster, the dam there with the water flowing over the top of it, and they're worried about a breach, it reminded me of a report that the province had a few years ago that they'd done, that if they had breaches at the Tobic Dam, the Grand Falls Dam, or the Tinker Dam, how that would impact the water levels in our community. And at the time, it was kind of alarming that if the Grand Falls Dam broke, for example, and I'll have to see if I hope we didn't lose it during the flood, but ironically, lose it during the flood, that it showed, for example, the water coming from Grand Falls, if they had a full breach there, that we'd have like 4 feet of water, 5 feet of water on Main Street within 6 hours. And if the Tobic Dam had a full breach, it was obviously a much shorter time frame, but the amount wasn't as much. So I just like, it'd be good to have that revisited, just not just for our community, but for all the communities along the river valley here, just to see if that modeling shows anything anything different now?
I think especially where the impact of how much rain we got this year, and because of more silt buildup and things like that, it would be good to know because, it could happen.
We're getting quite
We're getting
comfortable, I find,
Yeah.
around here, not staying on our toes.
I worked with flood in 2010 in Matreville and Sheffield and all the places with our fire departments. And that was the year that everybody was getting nailed. And they said that the Mactaquac Dam was pushing, that water was pushing it. That's why they're still under construction now, but so the fire chief that was in charge of the incident come on and told us that, well, we had an incident command meeting and we had NB Power, we had all these people in. And they said that if that dam breaches and breaks, because they were expecting then for a full breach because of the metric tons that it was holding back. But they said that if that breaks, our job on the boats, number one, was just to head down river as fast as you can, because there's gonna be a tidal wave coming your way. And they said, when it hits Fredericton, it will go a quarter to halfway up Regent Street. Like
Yeah.
that's the water flow,
Yeah.
because it would start right from Beechwood and just make its way, whatever's there would empty out within just a few minutes. So it would rise that fast, and it's amazing the power that we're
Yeah.
holding back, really.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be good just to send that off, so council's okay with that, I'll send that request off just to
Great.
be proactive.
Does ELG cover the silt buildup below Larder Creek and all that
Yeah,
as well?
and that's a request that I'll add on to this, the LiDAR mapping that was done after the 2012 flood. There was some mapping that was done before the flood that DNR did, and they did it sort of like old school off the edge of a boat and measured and mapped the bottom of the river, and they did it very, Peter Cronin, I believe. Yeah, with local gentleman, he did a lot of work on it, and anyways, they had what they felt was an accurate map of the river bottom, and after the flood, they actually flew it with a plane and did LiDAR mapping of the river bottom, which they claim is accurate, and because we were arguing about the silt buildup, that is, because we wanted to compare the two maps, the DNR map to the new LiDAR mapping, and the province said, well, no, look, you're not comparing apples to oranges, because the two maps were done differently. So the intent at the time that we had a commitment at the time was from MB Power was in 10 years after that mapping was done, they would revisit it and fly it again to remap it to see if silt buildup is an issue. It's like there's a theory out there is that the silt buildup over time is what causes our ice jams.
Yeah.
That after it builds up, it just holds back the jam so far, and then it just blocks everything off until you get enough pressure behind it, like you said, to push it through.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons for that, when you looked at the footage of after the last flood, there was some ice on the shores in some of the fields that was just as black with silt on it. In other areas, it was just snow white ice. So obviously that was dragging
Yeah.
somewhere.
That
So
at the time, but
Yeah.
that wouldn't really just.
So I'll tag that into this about doing the LiDAR mapping to compare the two. So,
Sometimes in the summer, not this year, but some other normal rainy summers, you can look right out across the valley before, just
Yeah.
above it, and you can see little sandbars that have collected. Now, maybe they were there before,
No,
but still, I don't believe that.
I think it's still,
Yeah.
well, you look at the playing fields after heavy rain.
Right.
You look at the river and all that.
It'll
Ground.
only drift so far before it has to settle somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and it stops at the dam, so therefore it has to settle. Good plan.
okay.
Okay, B, committee updates. So I've been going over these because now legally Bill is done. So I'm gonna do some adjusting here so that we can spread ourselves out for these meetings. And I want to make sure that the mandates are going to be for the financial and HHR will be on the next agenda.
Yep.
Okay, please and thank you. So I'm just going to go over what we have here so far, and then you guys can tell me what you think. Also, the regional services, if I'm not there, Sheila will be stepping in for me, and then for some reason it'll be Sarah.
Okay, so can I just ask a quick question? We are having an election, right?
Yes, and after Christmas, after October, when we see what happens there, when they
Okay.
get sworn in, then we can adjust it and give, not have to do
Okay.
so much and give them into
it
what they
really
might
worth
like.
changing a whole lot?
Well, it's
before
not a
then?
much change here,
Okay.
it's not a much change, it's just. I need to know, like, when I thought the other day that the planning was, the water and sewer, I was going by what was in the book, because I have it all over
What it
there.
should be is if you
So I
give
want
that
you to
list
know.
to Dan and he could put it out in an email to us and then we'd know who was on each committee and then we'd know who to go to if we were not available for a meeting or something.
Okay, so I know it's gonna be like 2 for the boards, right? You said like for donation board and
Yeah, certain ones have different numbers.
Yeah, and-
Library has only one.
library is 1, okay, and then that's exactly what I'll do. Okay, and the board will be 2, and what else was there? And the rest are 3, right?
It depends, yeah.
Well, I'll ask you.
Yeah, like they've got, like, for example, in the light board one, that one at one point was before we did this change, it was one person from council on the light board.
Well,
before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
So some of them are
I've
different, yeah.
been on it for the last 7,
Yeah.
8 years,
Yeah.
and I think Sheldon was on last council, I think.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think so, weren't you,
Yeah.
Sheldon?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so typically, yeah,
I'll go over
yeah.
it, and I'll just-
yeah, like the committees, of course, the procedural bylaw, the committees are, I guess, appointed by the mayor and approved by council
Yeah.
is how they're done. So like Sheila said, we had the
If
list.
you get a list, then we can just.
Yeah, and it's not,
we
gonna
can look
take-
at it
I'm
and
just
we
gonna
can
make it
just
short
make that.
and sweet and take his name off places and put somebody in,
Yeah.
You know what I
If we
mean?
give that to him and he sends it out to us, then we can say, yeah.
yeah, and then that way, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just trying to like, if we're gonna have the election, like,
No.
at some point, nothing.
no, we're not, whatever, but I want the other communities to get going, we're not gonna
Yeah.
wait until after the election to do those other meetings, right?
Okay.
We want all communities, I mean, if we're in here, we'll be in here a year, right? So we don't we want things to get going, we want to be a council that's bringing stuff forward and going ahead, right? Okay, does that work? Does that work?
Oh, you're talking to me. I thought you were talking to Sheldon.
No, sounds good.
Send it out to
Yeah.
us and in the next meeting we could,
Yeah, I
Approve
missed
that.
that, yeah.
Yep.
So then we have C, the fire truck tender, but I didn't see that in here. Do you guys see that in here?
No, that's just for an update.
Oh, okay.
I think I mentioned before that we're looking at different options for the truck and things. So sort of what we've narrowed it down to now is taking the poly box off the existing truck we have, and then some of the other equipment that's transferable, and doing a tender to basically have a new truck and a new box on the back constructed using our equipment, which we think will last. And this is a backup truck, so the Philip is quite comfortable transferring that equipment, and of course a poly tank, because there shouldn't be any issues with that. So we're just I guess waiting on a draft, but we're going to have a tender out for that, where it's above the provincial limitations on what we can tender.
Yeah.
So once we get that, we'll put out to tender, and one of the suppliers actually has a truck ordered that would fit. If there's a successful tender, they have a truck on order that will be delivered, I believe, at the end of this year or early next. So it might be
Yeah.
But again, a lot of people selling us stuff has told us vehicles would be here at a certain date, and we haven't. Our garbage truck that,
I've been waiting for a Buick for 8 months for somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
but anyway, so that was it. Just
on the garbage truck.
I was told, but last time I talked to the gentleman, he said, well, Danny, he said, I think it'll be a month.
I mean, how long-
And he wasn't really committed on the month part of his statement. He was sort of he wanted to say something, but he used a month. I could tell in his voice. So I said, so is that really a month? And he said, well, I don't know, Danny. So to be honest, the truck's coming from Mexico, and it's not left Mexico yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know what.
So I'll tell you, some cars that we have been waiting for, from, like I said, from Buick, were in Mexico, the vehicle has been made for 8 months. made to Vancouver. There was a major strike up there on shipping everything out.
Yeah.
So it's been sitting in Vancouver since
Out on a boat, a lot of them are just been right on a
like,
boat.
yeah, 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Sitting there before it even gets to, next stop is usually Montreal or Quebec, and then they go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So ours could be. out-
Our garbage truck is supposed to leave Mexico, go to Quebec to the La Rochelle plant for some additional tune-ups, and from La Rochelle to Saunders Equipment in Fredericton for tune-ups, and then delivered to here. All within 2 more weeks, apparently.
Sweet.
Can you believe that?
Yes, Mary, wow,
Yeah.
Mexico.
Yep, so other than that, I guess that's all I have, other
Okay, so. Yes.
I'll move you again.
I'll stop the recording.